tour. 1, 2.
And now the Beatles special continues on Fire. The Dark Beatle, the Mystical Beatle, the Slender Beatle who went to India with 3 other young musicians and came home with Hare Krishna. The Eastern Beatle who staged a concert for Bangladesh and raised a fortune for a country in despair. This is the Beatles special on Fire Radio. An hour with George Harrison and his surprise guest. Later this evening, you will have the opportunity to win a Beatles collector's item direct from England. And now, George Harrison.
I felt probably for 3 years that this tour, subconsciously, I felt the presence of this tour in my subconscious, and it's been like bubbled deep down, and it's slowly been bubbling up to the surface. And it's like a lot of forces and energies, I don't really know. In a way, I decided to go on tour, I suppose. You could say that. But in reality, it was like just outside energies and maybe subconscious desires, or I don't know. But whatever it was, I felt it coming for 3 years. And when it finally came, I thought, what am I doing? What am I doing? It's mad, really mad, It's such a big tour, because I did think if I was to tour America again, I certainly didn't want to do the same thing like, those hectic, really crazy tours like in the old days where you'd be left in a room for 8 hours and they'd throw you a Hershey bar occasionally when they remembered. I thought we'd do a tour. I'd play maybe 10 cities and take a lot of time to go to those 10 cities, maybe take 2 or 3 days off in between each city where I'd see a little bit of America. Maybe we'd go by camper or by train or something like that. And instead, it got to the point where I thought, well, if I'm doing it, I might as well do in one shot, because once you get into the motion, I might as well do as many as possible. I have no idea who wants to see me, who doesn't want to see me, which cities to play, which cities not to play. I just have a lot of concepts which I want to get rid of, and which I'm getting rid of, like one, when we went to Dallas or Houston, Texas, on the old Beatle tour. I remember both years. First year we went to Dallas, we almost got killed. Second year we went to Houston, we almost got killed. So my concept of Texas has been, wherever I go, I'm not going to Texas, because they're mad, I just remembered what happened there. And so I played, where was it? Fort Worth and Houston. And it's amazing, the change, that's what blows me out, really, is the change in 5-6 years of people's consciousness. It's incredible. It's like, say, 4 years ago, 5 years ago in San Francisco or Los Angeles. It's like that now in Texas. The feeling of the people and the way they look and the way they act. It's great, it was one of the really nicest shows at Fort Worth. It was really nice. And Houston, I really I didn't have any of that old fear that I thought I may have.
You are listening to George Harrison, exclusively on Fire Radio. George will return in a moment.
Excuse me.
Well, hello.
Could you help me with this poem I'm writing?
Is it about life, romance, boy meets girl?
It's about mothers.
Oh, terrific. Mothers. Mine just bought me a pair of galoshes for my birthday.
Oh, it goes, M is for the many times I go there. O is for the others I have left.
Then last Christmas, she also bought me another pair of galoshes.
T is for the talent on the stage there. H is for the happy talk you hear.
Happy talk. You're lucky. Mine just keeps reminding me to always wear my galoshes.
E is for excitement that abounds there. R is for the rhythm of the band.
Very nice, cute. It really is.
Well, the problem is the S.
The S?
Do you think it should stand for sexy, sensual, or scintillating?
Your mother?
Not my mother. Mother's at 26 West Division Street.
Oh, Mother's, of course. The greatest night spot in town.
Mother's is open weekdays till 4 and Saturdays till 5 with live entertainment, super drinks, and the C. Brown Underground Disco. Mother's at 26 West Division Street.
Let's go over there right now.
Great! Oh, and thanks for helping with my poem.
I loved it. The thing I liked most was it's original, you know?
Don't forget your galoshes over there.
Oh, yeah.
They were asking me about what my feelings were about the tour, which I can relate the same answer to this thing about the forum. And that is that I just didn't have enough time. I've been so busy working this year that if I'd have sat back and thought about it, I would have been petrified. I wouldn't have been able to do it. And there's been moments where I've thought, you know, a little bit of negativity has crept in, and I have to try and squash it immediately because, you know, it's like Lord Buckley said, I don't know if you know Lord Buckley, he said, this is relating to what I'm talking about, but he's talking about love. He says it's like a beautiful garden. When you use it, it just grows and blossoms, but when you don't, it recedes. So positive and negative is like that. It's like when you use the positive thoughts, it just blossoms and it seems to uphold. And when you get negative and doubts, it just comes like creepers to strangle you. We just were playing Salt Lake City, and during intermission or between the two shows, somebody said President Ford's son is here, and is it okay to bring him backstage to meet you? And I said, sure. I mean, I meet anybody, you know. They don't have to be the president's son, because I don't have any ideas of the first family, you know, of President Ford. The only impression I'd had of him was that he was a person who was put in a job which he didn't particularly want, and maybe he really didn't need at all. In fact, he probably liked the saying, he needed it like a hole in the head. So I met his son, and his son was just fantastic. His son was just a really nice, very, very good guy. In fact, I got a really good feeling from him first time I met him.
You are listening to George Harrison, exclusively on Fire Radio. After this history-making special, stay with Fire for the best of the Beatles music. And when you hear Hello Goodbye, be the first to call 591-3042 to win a collector's item Beatle record direct from England. The George Harrison special will continue in a moment.
Henry's Formal Wear is celebrating the Beatles special by giving away Beatles albums. And all you have to do is stop into any Henry's Formal Wear store and register to win a free Beatles album. No purchase necessary. At Henry's Formal Wear, you'll see super wedding fashions for guys. Henry's can match any tuxedo to any dress, ribbon, or flower. And they have the new groom's coattail with matching coats for groomsmen. So register for your free Beatles album at Henry's Formal Wear. They're open weekdays till 9 and Saturdays till 5. And there's a Henry Formal Wear west near you, in Cicero, in LaGrange, Downers Grove, and Aurora. Henry's Formal Wear celebrating the Beatles special by giving away free Beatles albums. Stop by and register now.
Fire, original rock and roll.
I felt from General Ford, I met him like I'm looking at you. I could look him in the eyes, and I felt that he was a decent human being. And it gave me hope. You know, it gave me hope because I mean, not only is America like one of the heaviest places around this planet, but I mean, America has such influence on the rest of the world. It's like you take it just to say a radio station. Now, whoever's running the radio station, if he is the guy giving off either orders or giving a feel to the members of his staff, it comes from the top. You know, if the secretary's unhappy about the way things are going on, is usually can trace it back to the top. And if there's a good spirit in an organization or a business, it's usually because from the top the feeling is coming through. So that's what gave me hope for America and for the world, because the world is influenced a lot by America. I must say, there's so many records that I don't ever hear, and not because I don't like them, but because I don't hear them, or because I don't have time. I'm so busy making records. What I bought recently was the new Maria Muldoon record, because I liked something about her on her first album, that Reprise album. Maybe it wasn't her first overnight success. Anyway, the one, I bought the new album, but I've just got stuck on the track called Cool River. And if you're listening, Maria, I love it. It just makes me want to cry. Cool River. I don't know if you heard that. It's on her new album. But I read somewhere in the review of the album that she never wrote the song herself. Somebody else wrote the song, but I just love that song, except for one line. In the second bridge, she says, I have tried praying to God and his saints on high, but they don't hear me. The only thing was, if I did a cover version of that, I'd have to change that line to, I've tried praying to God and his saints on high, and I know they hear me.
You are listening to George Harrison, exclusively on Fire Radio. George will return in a moment.
Garibay Scientific Communications salutes the Beatles with a special sale on the Fieldmaster CB radio. Call Garibay at 964-2340 for the special sale price, or stop in at Garibay, 5232 Main Street in Downers Grove. While you're there, be sure to see their complete CB radio sales, accessory, and repair department. Garibay is also the home of the Bronco Bullwhip fiberglass antenna. Positively the strongest yet most attractive CB antenna anywhere. There's no better time to buy your Fieldmaster CB radio than now, during Garibay's Salute to the Beatles, all during the Beatles special. Call Garibay at 964-2340 for the special sale price. Garibay Scientific Communications, your home in the western suburbs for CB radios. Garibay will repair any CB radio no matter where you purchased it. Garibay, 5232 Main Street in Downers Grove, easily accessible from any western suburb. Lyle, Naperville, Westmont, Hinsdale, Lombard, anywhere. Garibay Scientific Communications.
When the world gets you down and your head starts spinning around, it's time to stop. Lay back and get that feeling, that just pants feeling, that good just pants feeling. Yeah, does feel good.
Just Pants thinks that now that there's a change in the weather, it's time for a change in you. So they've loaded up on all the sun-ready latest. Bleach natural canvas, colored pre-wash denim, blue pre-wash denim too, and they've got fashion-styled and fitted jeans, legendary Levi's jeans, plus Just Pants has got jumpsuits and halter tops, jackets and jeans geared to go together. Are you ready for a change? Just Pants knows you are. 41 stores in the Chicago area, including Mishawaka, Indiana, and Peru, Illinois.
Lay back and get that just pants feeling. Ooh.
Fire Radio.
It's taken a long time being sued over that song. I tell you how I wrote that song. I went to see Delaney and Bonnie and Friends, which was with Eric Clapton. he was one of the friends, play at the Albert Hall in London. And it was, sometimes you go to a show, I don't know, I feel as a musician I go to shows, and I know this must be going on while I'm out doing the shows now in America. Sometimes I go to a show and I think, wow, you know, I'd just love to be up there playing with them, it's so nice. And other times I think, ooh, you know, I'm glad I'm not in that band. But Delaney and Bonnie and Friends with Eric, it cooked. It was so good, you know, all that Coming Home, and you know that when it was their first album, and everybody did, Jim Gordon and Carl Radle and Bobby Keys, and you know, it was a good band. It was a good band at that time. And if you go back and hear all that stuff, like Coming Home, Delaney and Bonnie, it really was great. They played really well, and I sat there with Ringo in the box at the Albert Hall, and I just thought, wow, you know, that band's great. I really like that. And the next day, they just pulled a bus up outside my house and said, come on. And I got my guitar and went with them. And we did a tour of England, and then we went around Europe, a few places, and I remember Eric and Delaney and Bonnie were doing interviews with somebody in, I think it was either Copenhagen or Gothenburg, somewhere in Sweden. And I was so thrilled with Oh Happy Day, the Edwin Hawkins singers. It really just knocked me out, you know, the idea of that song. And I just felt a great feeling of the Lord, you know. And so I was thinking, well, I'll write Oh Happy Day, my sweet Lord. So they're suing me over a song written by a guy who died a while back, who I'd never even heard of anyway, although I knew the song, I'd heard the song. And the problem being that I wrote My Sweet Lord in the dressing room while Delaney and Bonnie were being interviewed. Bangladesh, well, that was the quickest thing I ever wrote, because, no, Ding Dong, Ding Dong was the quickest one I ever wrote. It took me 3 minutes, except it took me 4 years of looking at a thing, ring out the old, ring in the new, ring out the false, ring in the true, before I realized it was a hit song. And I'm being a bit precocious saying that, hit song, because it is so, I mean, it makes me laugh, you know, it's so simple. Which again reminds me of Lord Buckley. He says, it was just like a jitterbug. It was so simple, it evaded me. Well, that song evaded me for 4 years.
You are listening to George Harrison, exclusively on Fire Radio. After this history-making special, stay with Fire for the best of the Beatles music. And when you hear Hello Goodbye, be the first to call 591-3042 to win a collector's item Beatle record direct from England. The George Harrison special will continue in a moment. Hey, man, where did you get that great Honda?
I beg your pardon, are you talking to me?
Yes.
Well, Oak Lawn Honda, actually. They're selling the best Hondas around, and you get an $80 rebate direct from Honda on the Honda CB360T, the CB500T, the CB400F, and the CB200T.
Really?
Yes,
man.
But you have to hurry. The Honda Big Bike bonus ends this Friday, actually.
Man, I really dig those wheels.
Yes.
How many of those Hondas does Oak Lawn Honda have left?
Oh, lots, man. Oak Lawn Honda has one of the largest inventories of new Hondas around, and Oak Lawn Honda also has a great parts and accessories department, so when you get your Honda from Oak Lawn Honda, you don't have to search around to find out where to have it serviced, you see.
You might say Oak Lawn Honda is a full-service Honda dealer.
I might say that, yes. Check it out for yourself, though. You know, Oak Lawn Honda, it certainly deserves consideration. 9030 South Cicero Avenue in Oak Lawn. It's what you might say groovy, you know.
Let me introduce to you the one and only John Lennon. You just come in here and shout things talking about the Beatles.
What's that?
What are they? Anyway, we remember now, I remember this.
I'll try.
I remember this. Now, we made a record, and John wrote a song which was quite similar, and we did it as an album track and evaded or avoided making it into the next single, and in fact he gave it to some people who nobody had ever heard of, which was There's a Place. Remember? There's a Place.
I never gave that away.
Da, da, da. Yeah, but somebody else did it as a single, and we just put it on the album, but it was like the one before with the mouth organ and all the bits.
Yeah, that bit about when you change, you know, they attacked the Stones, who've just made one of the greatest albums they ever made, and Mick singing like a beauty, and saying it's the same old stuff. It isn't the same old stuff, it's great Stones. And if you do change it, then you're attacked for changing it, right? Yeah. And all the audiences have been digging off his shows, because I've got good spies, and critics don't like it because he changed it. If he'd done the same, he would have been attacked for not changing it.
There's lots that I really thought were pretty good, and there's ones which I thought were sensational. To try and put them into, quickly to say which ones I really enjoyed. I enjoyed things like Strawberry Fields. I enjoyed the ones which were inventive, which were new, like I enjoyed Norwegian Wood because I felt where it was coming from. I remember, I was alongside John or Paul as they were writing things. Occasionally they might have said a line or a word, like my mother would say a line or a word which I'd use, but that I can think of a million times when I wrote a few lines or verses to Eleanor Rigby or something else too. They didn't really help me that much. John helped me in as much as he said, he gave me a tip, which wasn't really a tip. He was just being, observant. And that is that once you get in the motion of starting it, it's handy to try and finish it, complete it.
Just Hair at 9762 Grand Avenue in Franklin Park is the home of the Supercutters. Just Hair offers you the best in unisex hairstyling. Their Supercutters will get you together with one of their dynamite cuts. Call Just Hair at 455-2380. That's 455-2380. Just Hair is open 7 days a week, 5 of those days till midnight. Those foxy hairstylists at Just Hair really know how to turn a head. And if you have your new unisex hairstyle done at Just Hair, you will really turn heads. Just Hair, 9762 Grand Avenue, the home of the Supercutters. Call one of the Supercutters at Just Hair now for an appointment. Their number is 455-2380. Turn heads as you walk down the street with a new unisex hairstyle from Just Hair, 9762 Grand Avenue in Franklin Park.
Fire Radio.
I remember the day when John did an interview with a certain magazine and said certain things, and then I remember the day when he disagreed with what he'd said, but the man who interviewed him denied him the right to change his mind, and even though it was 2.5 years later, still went ahead and published something which John said he no longer agreed with himself on, which means the dream was over, yet certain people wouldn't allow him to have his dream over. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
In other words, imagine if somebody, or you accidentally bang your head and you shout, ow. And that's the end of it. Right? I mean, it doesn't go on for the next 5 years. Right? And we all do that.
He's a real
We're all alone. Every one of us, there may be 1 million of us all in the same room having a party. Elton John, Dwayne Eddy, Dwayne Allman, John Lennon, and the rest. They can all be Fred Astaire in the room thinking they're all together, but there's 1,000 alone people together. And that's why I thank the Beatles for taking me through 10 years of bad reviews in order to appreciate this. It's not the reviews that counts, it's the response. So at the end, it's really, if you can face yourself, you can face anybody.
The George Harrison Special was produced in Hollywood by Harvey Mednick and Marty Nurbos. Production engineering by John Boudreau. Executive producer Paul Drew. Program copyright RKO General Radio. For the Beatles Special on Fire Radio, this is Don Kelly.
24